there may be a situation where you have a set of data and you want to find one number that represents the variation between the data elements. This is what's known as a measure of spread. In this example here, we've got a lot of different test grades that some algebra students took, and we see that some students scored very high in the 90s, scored high A's, and some students did somewhat poorly. They scored in the 60s and the 50s. I even see one student here scored in the 40s. So how do we find one number that represents how varied these data points are? Well, the measure of center that we're going to look at in this video is called the range, but just be aware that there's actually more than one different measure of spread, but the one we're going to look at is called the range. So if we're talking about the range, all we do is we take the highest value, in this case a 99, we take the lowest value, in this case a 49, and we're going to subtract the two to get the range. So here we go, we'll have a range of 99 minus 49. So in this particular data set has a spread of 50. So that means it's 50 units from the lowest value to the highest value. Now one thing we see, and this is kind of a downside to the range, is the range is heavily affected by outliers. If you had one student that scored substantially higher than the rest of the students, or one student that scored much lower than the rest of the students, your range may be unfairly larger than it should be. And so just keep that in mind when you're talking about measure of spread. You do have to look out for outliers. Now the range has a nice graphical interpretation as well. On a number line, if you put the low point, let's say at 49, and then you had your different test grades along the way, and your highest grade was a 99, when you take this difference, literally what you're getting here is a difference or a span or a spread of 50 units wide. And so we can see this pretty clearly graphically as well. So anyway, hopefully that helps you better understand range and measure of spread.